again, and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. Thanks for listening. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all the listeners out there, and feel free to give us a call. Yes, it is the season, but maybe it's the season to review what you're doing for retirement. Maybe you don't even know what you're doing for retirement or what the plan is. 612-504-8400. Visit us online at havenfinancialgroup.com. Our upcoming classes this month and even 2026 classes, we teach a variety of those. Kim, as you know, Social Security and tax, investment classes, truth about annuities, Medicare made simple, et cetera, et cetera. Check out our website. You're more than invited to attend. There are a lot of them. There's waiting lists, so I encourage you to do that in advance. And we're going to talk a little bit here about transferring wealth, the great wealth transfer, and it's obviously important to people because our good partners from Provision Law, Carrie and Keith, we just had in Lakeville, a wills, trust, and legacy planning, 2 educational events in the last 2 weeks. Waiting lists, full rooms, people wanting to know how do they accomplish their goals of transferring whatever it is. And right away, I think the listeners are going, oh, that's only for the rich people. It's not. It's for whatever you have to transfer it, avoiding probate. So again, it's just extremely important.
Well, it's if you own a home, if you own property, then this is an issue that you need to address or certainly need to be thinking about. Transferring your wealth to the next generation, and your home is included in that. And if your intention is not to downsize, but you want to stay in that house, what happens to that house after you have passed away? Where does that house go? So let's talk a little bit about that. First off, I was just blown away by this stat, Kyle. Baby boomers are expected to transfer more than $50 trillion in wealth in the next 20 years. That's a lot of money, and that's that. When you sit down with folks and you start talking about transferring wealth, what's the first thing people need to know?
Yeah, well, $50 trillion, that is a lot of money, and that flashes the red alarms saying that we need to do some estate planning and making sure everyone's objectives are aligned with what they want to have happen. So, when it comes to the home, that's something that is something that needs a lot of attention. We need to make sure that we have homes properly titled or have proper designations. Because one of the things when we talk about estate planning is trying to avoid probate, right? That's one of the big goals. And if we don't have any beneficiary, a transfer on death deed for our home, or we don't have it owned in a trust, it's probably going to go to probate, or it will go to probate, right? So that's one of the first steps when we talk about transferring wealth to the next generation in regards to homes. You can just go to the county's recorder's office and pay $46 to have a transfer on death deed to your kids. Or if you have a trust, we can just change the title of the house to be the trust, and you avoid that probate process altogether. So definitely something to look at. And also all of your other financial accounts should have beneficiaries on them too, just like the house, right? So that's how you avoid probate with that. And just making sure that we can transfer these funds to the next generation without having to go through a court process, because that also has fees, anywhere from 3 to 7% of the estate. We want to avoid that. We want to get the most money we can into our heirs' pockets, as much as possible.
Now, one of the ways to do that is to start to transfer wealth while you're still living, correct?
Absolutely. And that's becoming a really popular trend with people, because rather than, giving it to them after you pass away and not being able to see the benefits of that on this earth, you can transfer it to them while you're living, and you can see the real impact that you're making on their lives. Maybe you're helping them with a down payment. Maybe you're helping them pay off college debt, right? Or maybe you're just helping them buy their dream home. That's definitely something that people are doing to see the benefits in their children's lives or grandchildren's lives. But it also can help you in your own situation, especially if you're running into those lifetime exemptions for limits, right? And some people say, "Oh, I'm never going to reach those limits." Well, Minnesota is 3 million per person, and it's been 3 million per person for a while. So I don't really expect Minnesota to have an appetite to change that going forward. So you can have $3 million to your estate before it starts to get taxed, right? And if you're thinking $3 million, that's a lot of money. Well, this includes everything in your estate, your investment assets, your house. And if we live another 20, 30 years, the rule of 72 says a lot of people could get to 3 million, right? Assets are going to grow. Inflation's going to be there. Things are going to be worth a lot more in 20, 30 years than they are right now. So we need to do estate planning for everyone, because it's probably going to be impactful for everyone as well.
And I think it's really important, and I realize this is pretty obvious, but it's really important for people to understand that estate planning is individualized. So while we're talking about this in generalities here on the radio, it's really important for you to sit down with someone who can help you step through the best plan for you to transfer your wealth, whether that's while you're living or if that's after you've passed away. Larry, I don't think I'm speaking out of term there, right?
No, the best thing to do is give us a call. We set up a no-cost consultation with Carrie or Keith here at our office, because a lot of times, we live in a very litigious society. You just don't want to just put a TOD on some property without thinking through all the complications that it's 1 to buy, 2 to sell real estate. If you give it to 3 kids, then they're all married. The spouses have to sign off on it. So you just don't want to do something because somebody told you to do it. You want to make sure you're making the right decisions, having the right documents, either a trust, a will, transfer on death deed, powers of attorney. All that is important. And again, people are giving it away earlier. It is a trend. I agree with Kyle that, hey, I'm going to gift some right now while I'm alive when the kids need it, rather than waiting until I die and then I don't get to see the fruit of what I'm giving them. I think it's a great idea as long as it's not to the detriment of your own retirement plan. So I want to offer that. And the other thing that can truly decimate any estate, small, medium, or large, or extra large, is long-term care nursing home. And none of us want to talk about it. If we don't talk about it, then it won't happen. Well, that's not true. 70% of us are going to need some sort of long-term care services in our lifetime. 70%. Yet a very small percentage have ever even looked at long-term care options, which are much more viable options than there used to be. The traditional long-term care is still around, but there's hybrid long-term care, there's asset-based long-term care. And if I'm speaking a foreign language, come on in and visit with Glenn. Much better viable options. Another thing I'll add to, because it is getting the end of the year, if you're taking a required minimum distribution and you don't need the money, why not do a qualified charitable distribution, a QCD? Give it to the charity of choice, get the tax benefits on both ends. Maybe you had a big income year and you want to do a donor advised fund for tax planning purposes. Look at all your options. But again, if you're not having a partner to lean on to have these conversations, you're going to miss opportunities unless you're really, really sharp and doing all the research. And from what we see, a lot of times people just don't know what they don't know.
Sure, absolutely, which is understandable. So
Correct.
seek out a partner, folks, to help you with all of the subjects that you've heard us talk about here this morning and so many more. That partner can be Haven Financial Group. Give them a call at 612-504-8400. That's 612-504-8400. Tell them you heard us here on the radio. You'd like to set up an appointment, cost-free. Go in and sit down with the folks there at Haven and chat a little bit about some of your questions that you have, some of the goals that you have for your retirement. Maybe you've already got a portfolio, but you think it needs to be reviewed. They're happy to do that as well. Larry, Kyle, great fun to be with both of you this morning, and thanks for all the great info.
Good to be with you as well. And again, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all the listeners. And Kim, we look forward to being with you next week.